a little bit more about just some of those developments we've seen, especially from the political landscape. And joining me in studio this morning, two gentlemen, Jessey Oduor and Murugi Kamande, both of them advocates and political analysts. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. So we'll hear who it is they were sampling and having a look at it as far as popularity is concerned. But we now have it's official, 8 presidential candidates raised to State House confirmed. And yesterday it was interesting to see some of the candidates who came in. There was actually was sort of like a face-off. I remember one of the analysts describing it when Nazlin Omar went to, make her issues known to the commission. But what do you make of this final list, Jessey? I'll begin with you.
I think the final list of 8, only 2 people appear to be serious. It's a 2-horse race between Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. The rest, I think, some of them are just for publicity stunt. No one is taking them serious. The only person who might at least make some significant headway in these elections, I think it's Dr. Ekuru Aukot, simply because he packages himself as a distraction to the establishment. Very few people will follow him because the critical thinkers will go with him. But the problem with that is that the critical thinker masses are very few. And then now you put it to the spanner of the likes of Wanaina and Nazlin Umar. I mean, those are jokers. Abdu Badida, because of his theatrics, at least the presidential debate last time elevated him. He got a little bit some votes, actually beat Martha Karua. So people might go with him, but not so serious. But it's going to boil down to 2 people, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah. Kamande, were you satisfied with the shortlisting, the process, the verification of, documents that we saw the IBC conducting? There are those last-minute additions to the list of candidates, and then now you have this final 8.
Yes.
Do you think they did a good job?
Let me say first this. At the beginning, there was a hurdle. You remember when there was a breakfast briefing between the presidential candidates and the IEBC. There's an issue that arose, especially that affected independent candidates. And this was about the 2,000 signatures that they were the seconders from the 24 counties that they were supposed to get, each of them. People who are not...
A total of 48,000.
Yes, a total of 48,000. Yeah. And these signatures were supposed to come from independent people who are not affiliated to any of the political parties. And I remember Nazlin Umar immediately went to the High Court and they said provision was declared unconstitutional. And so that's the reason why you see there are those 2 who, the additional ones that were added, because even if the names of the candidates who had proposed them, the people who had proposed them, belonged to other political parties, but went ahead to clear them. So that was one of the hurdles. But if you look at the process that went on Sunday and Monday, I think it was free, it was open for everybody to see, apart from the theatrics that we saw yesterday during Nazlin Umar's appearance. That was strategic. She just timed minutes before the president came in to submit his papers, and she knew she was live. So apart from those theatrics, and the previous day we had a candidate who he said allegedly tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
So
and there was one who showed up without a running mate.
Yes, that was comical in itself. And you see, some of those people should even be barred from ever contemplating even vying for a political office. It is marked of arrogance. You know these are the requirements, but just when you just appear just for the sake of it, that is wastage of time. That is those are public resources and public time.
Yeah.
Yes,
you think they should be surcharged?
No, it is their right to do that.
Yeah.
And even if not everybody qualifies, even when people apply for jobs, not everybody qualifies for that specific job, but they still appear.
Yeah.
So they were exercising their democratic right.
Yeah, because Jessey, there are those who criticize the IEBC, saying when you see those kind of people appearing before the commission, it's taxpayers' money, that's a very important platform, then that should have been weeded out earlier on, and that, it was a loophole, it was a miss as far as the IEBC is concerned, to have allowed them to even come that far and have that audience.
You see, Nazlin Umar did not start confronting the authorities today. Actually, she calls herself an activist or a whistleblower. So that's what she said yesterday. Do you remember last time during the presidential petition case at the Supreme Court, she actually caused drama when the Supreme Court was sitting and started abusing the then former Chief Justice Mutunga, saying this is Raila's friend and all that stuff. I mean, those were not issues. She was not even a party to that suit, and she caused a lot of drama. Fast forward yesterday, I mean, she showed up without even a running mate, not even the 200,000 mandatory fees, without a degree. I mean, the very basic things that even a class 2 or a class 7 people will know that these are the requirements you need to do. So as much as Kenyans are disgusted with what happened, it is true. It's actually wasting the nation's time for an institution as such as IBC on a national platform. They should have a way, as much as people are going to protest about our rights and all that stuff, Nazlin style, but then they should have a background. The other officials or secretariat, let them clear. If you don't meet, then stop wasting people's time.
Yeah, because looking at President Uhuru Kenyatta's tour around the city in the lead up to his submission of the papers, some described it as, for the independent candidates, paint for me a picture of whether it's the challenges they face or the disadvantages they have. When you look at the likes of also Raila Odinga, then as a candidate, and the kind of resources, the kind of following, even in campaigns and rallies that they're able to hold. We never see quite an independent candidate pull crowds and, reporting of, there was, say, Abduba Dida in Uhuru Park with thousands gathered. What are the challenges of these other contenders? Because largely you both appear to agree it's a two-horse race. So, but the others, what is it they face in this electioneering and campaign period?
The reality world over is that in any hotly contested election, you have 2 to 3 serious candidates. Then you have these other, we'll call them fringe candidates, who come in. They themselves believe that they can, let's say that they can challenge the rest. But you see, over and over again, they do not have one, it's the political backing. For example, if you look at that, wherever the masses, wherever their numbers are, they cannot marshal all that. You also look at, they do not also have proper party structures. If you look at what was happening yesterday and the previous day, it was a show of might between Jubilee and NASA. And if you look at it, you notice that Jubilee has candidates all over. So in the process of showing this might when they were presenting the papers, there were other candidates who ensured they had also marshaled their supporters. Now that becomes the difference. Apart from themselves, the candidates themselves, you have other candidates who are behind them. So they pull their masses, they have the numbers, so they are the ones who will follow them. But at the same time, you look at the distinction, and the reality is between Raila Odinga and His Excellency the Presidency, the President, is that those are the only 2 candidates who have the financial muscle to pull such crowds. And that's the reality. In politics, you do not just go empty pocketed.
So are you saying they are given money to show up?
Not they are given money to show up, but I'm saying they have, what do we call them? They have been in politics long enough to know how to marshal those numbers. And you need resources. Reality is, if you want to marshal those numbers, you need resources. You need to mobilize people to show up. But others were just there. The intention was just, I don't think they even tried to pull a crowd. The intention was, one, let me go appear on TV. I'll be seen, I've presented my papers, and that's all. And the reality you'll also notice is, none of these candidates, independent candidates or these other fringe candidates, will try and hold a political rally in Uhuru Park, because perception is really important. You do not want to flop, for example, trying to do such a thing. So they're the ones that will encourage small groupings, door to door, and all that. But for the purposes of show of might, always expect that His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga will always pull those masses until the last day. Yes.
So you have a pool, as we said, now of 8 candidates. There's Raila Odinga, Ekuru Court, Cyrus Jirongo, Uhuru Kenyatta, Abduba Dida, there's Japhet Kaluyu, Joseph Nyaga, and Professor Michael Wainaina. Jessey, when you look at these 8 candidates, there are those who opine that for some of them, they've been positioned, they've been put there just in the event there's a runoff, as it's a close election, it's unclear how it will go, perhaps a lot of it depends on turnout on election day. When you look at them, in terms of what motivating, especially the other 6 candidates, what do you see some as being put out there so that in case that time comes, they can then fall back into one of this, either the party that's Jubilee or Alliance, NASA?
Actually, I was coming to that, Sophia. Actually, most of them have actually not been put there. They've put themselves there, hoping to benefit in the event that there's a runoff. Not even that. Before even the elections itself, some of them are going to drop out of the race and throw their weights between these 2 candidates, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. And then moving forward, forward, just to add what my friend my learned colleague was saying. Politics is big money. For you to, it's not just about marshalizing the crowds to turn up. There are logistics challenges involved. It's about getting the public address system, getting the vehicles, getting the MCs and all the musicians to come and perform in your rally. Now, and then for you to reach that level, there is also some political clout that you must have. Uhuru and Raila have been in the game for some time. Okuru Okot at least has made some noise in the courts corridor. Kenyans know him. Jirongo has been a sitting member of parliament for some time.
Yeah. And it appears the name that will be on the ballot is not Cyrus.
Masakala. Wasiakala. That is his middle name.
Masakala.
Yeah, something close to that.
You will be like...
So, you see, the problem why the independent candidates have a time, people taking them serious, no one knows you. You come, Professor Wainaina, you have to start introducing yourself, No one knows you, like, who are you? Now, Kenyatta is a household name, Odinga is a household name. Kenyans resonated with them very easily because they've been in the scene for some time. And then now you come with independence, no party, no any other candidate wants to be affiliated to you apart from your running mate, who Kenyans don't even know. You're introducing them for the first time when you're presenting your papers. Between these two, when they're coming, they have other candidates who also, when they're drumming support for themselves, they have to sell the manifesto of the presidential candidates. So clearly, as you say, by the time we go to these elections, the number will not be 8. We are going to be thinner. When you go for runoff now, they are going to back other candidates too.
Yeah. So this, we're waiting for the results or announcements from the survey by Ipsos, and we'll see who it is that are able to rank and at what level. But Kamande, how would you rank this one? Who do you think is going to come out at the top of this survey?
At the top of this survey?
Yeah.
Let me be honest. There was a survey a while back by Infotrack that should be around 2 months ago. The president was leading. I do not think within these 2 months you have such a great variation, but I do not expect that there will be such a great change, but I do not think anybody will be above 50% at this point.
Yeah.
I highly doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
But should people trust polls? We've not just seen it here in Kenya, but also in other democracies where largely, they have been criticized, pollsters that is, of, not having the real picture of what's on the ground. Is it because of the numbers or the science is not getting it right?
The science might get it right, but then this election is not going to be more so about the science or about issues. It's going to be about the turnout. It's going to be a close race to call, but it's going to be about turnout. The turnout of the voters will determine the elections. But then so far, as my colleague says, I believe all of them are below 50%. The race is too tight to call. They're very close. But then the turnout is what is going to determine who's going to be the next president of Kenya.
Yeah. And let's take you back to Ipsos. The last that we were there was Tom Wolf, the lead researcher, was addressing the press on the methodology. He probably now has started talking more about their findings. So let's take a look.